have a mind to go buy some ribbons and then go to the concert tonight? Come.
All right, so hopefully what you jotted down comparing farm life to factory life was more or less talking about how in the factory life it was more routine, more regulated, more tedious. They did the same thing day in, day out, whereas and it was long hours. It was also long hours on the farm, but it was more task oriented. They did a task until it was done, then they did a different task. So it was less predictable. There was less of a wall between work and free time. There really wasn't really a notion of free time back then, because you lived where you worked. In the factory, there was the kind of that psychological wall between being at work and being off of work. All right. So there was a stark difference between farm life and factory life, although both were hard work. All right, guys. So what I want to do now is to read page 8 in your viewer's guide. So please Please turn to page 8, The Changing World of American Women. All right, and this is step 6 in the active viewer's guide. All right, it's only 2 paragraphs. It'll be nice and quick, then we can get back to this fabulous video, because I know you want to watch more. All right, underneath the regulations poster there, the 1830s saw important changes for women across America. As trade grew and the importance of home-produced goods declined, gender roles evolved in new directions. This is very, very important. In the new non-agricultural middle class, meaning people who were moving to the cities, the idea of separate spheres became common. Remember I was talking about that wall between work life and home life? Well, now there was also another wall where people began to think of life in separate spheres. Remember, when 90% of us were farmers and the majority of the remaining 10% were artisans, your home life and your work life were physically, spatially located in the same spot. Now, since increasingly more and more people were seeking work or were finding work outside the home, all right, there was not only that wall between work and home life, but also since the men were the ones going out to get what were called jobs, all right, the notion that women belonged in the house and men didn't began to become more common. So it wasn't like women weren't thought to belong in the home back in the Revolutionary era, but the men were there too. All right, everybody, 90% of us were farmers, remember. But as men began to leave the home to work, the idea of separate spheres began to become more common. So, and you should jot this down in the margins here, it began to become more common to think of as men as more suitable for the public sphere, or it was called public sphere or political sphere, social sphere, and women were suitable for the domestic sphere, or the private sphere in home. Their job was to take care of the home and make sure that home remains a haven in a heartless world, this safe, virtuous place away from the cold, hard, tough world out there. All right. Anyway, so that's the idea of separate spheres that began to develop more rigidly as a result of the market revolution. So according to this ideal, men should work in the harsh world of commerce, while women should be confined to the gentler world of home and family. And men were nice enough to publish magazines to tell women how they should behave. They still are. So if you look at the bottom right on page 8, you can see Godey's Ladies Book from 1849. Isn't that nice of them? In case women were wondering how to behave, men can explain it. All right, next paragraph. The young women of Lowell adopted some but not all of these new ideals. Lucy and other mill girls worked in the unladylike world of manufacturing. Again, that's why the mills had to overpromise to keep their virtue intact. Yet most of them also planned to later marry and raise families. Some used their wages to purchase pretty store-bought clothes, while others sent money to their parents. Some saved for dowries, and a few saved for education. Nearly all viewed mill work as a temporary stage in life, a way to escape the limits imposed by the farm, a step towards greater independence.